Hey, what's going on YouTube? Wanting to talk about John Gruden's absence from the Raiders and how I think that's really affecting the offense. It's why I think the offense has declined significantly. I don't think Henry Ruggs being gone is just the straight up only reason why Derek Carr has regressed in the past 2 weeks. Obviously, there's the psychological problems going on. We can't help but acknowledge the fact that there is a lot of drama and news stories going on with this team that is peculiar, and other teams do not go through what they are going through. You don't have these types of stories, the John Gruden situation, Henry Ruggs and Damon Arnett, surrounding a team like the Chiefs. When are they going through something like this in the media, despite the Tyreek Hill stuff that happened, right, back in time, but nobody really cared about that, right? But I also think Gruden's absence from a strategic football standpoint is negatively impacting the Raiders. I do, as far as a psychological impact on Derek Carr and the offense, the news media affecting them, I think it is causing plays like this. Now, I can't show you the play, but this is the still from Zay Jones, the early incompletion that led to a punt on 3rd and 3. And this is what was going on with the Raiders in the game. So many situations where it's just a 3 and out, man. And then the defense doesn't get any rest. The offense is barely on the field. And it's exactly why the time of possession was the way it was. Kansas City with roughly 35 minutes, while Vegas has roughly 25. And I believe Kansas City ran 22 more plays than the Raiders. That's a lot. And so this play here, Darren Waller is open. You could see him there near the hash mark, but Carr goes for Zay Jones. It's an off-target pass. It's a little low, and then Zay Jones kind of has to play defense and even bat the ball away from the defender, almost getting an interception. And it wasn't like Carr is not accurate anymore. So he was very accurate in the early part of the game. At one point, he was about 12 for 14, I believe, in the second quarter. So hitting most of his targets, and you could see it right here. Behind the line of scrimmage, Carr is 8 for 9. Short passing, 11 for 12. 4 for 6 on medium, and 2 for 4 on long. Now, here's the thing. He was leading the NFL in 20-plus attempts prior to this game, but we've seen that go down a lot. We've seen that go down without Ruggs. We're missing an ability to adjust the game plan and to figure out other alternatives when people like Darren Waller are double covered, and even when someone like Henry Ruggs was double covered when he was playing. Deshaun Jackson is perfectly fine to run the majority of deep routes that Henry Ruggs ran, and you've seen Gruden and Carr be more productive with this offense against teams like the Chiefs last year without Ruggs, with someone like Aguilar instead. And I think having Bryan Edwards gives him enough weapons to make plays. Zay Jones had some nice catches when he was targeted. So you see here we have 4 targets for Bryan Edwards. Zay Jones, only 3 targets, led to that 1 catch for 22 yards, that other incompletion that we mentioned earlier. Darren Waller, 7 targets, 4 catches, 24 yards, not having a great performance. The few bright spots were Edwards and Renfro, but for the majority of the game, people just were not getting open. And so I think what hurt us the most is stalling on 3rd down. We were 1 for 9 on 3rd down, 11% efficiency. That's horrible. 4th down, 1 for 2. There was plenty of situations, like that photo I showed you earlier, there's tons of situations where I did not understand why we didn't go for it on 4th down, especially at the very end. I believe it was 10 minutes left in the game. Even though we were at our own, the 50-yard line, we still decided to punt for it with 10 minutes left in the game, down 3 scores. You're just saying that you want to lose at that point. You're pretty much giving up. I feel like when things get tough in a game, there's not the same type of resiliency that there has been in the past. Against the Ravens, having someone like Gruden on the sideline to instill confidence in all these players, I really do think it made a huge difference. And I think Gruden's relationship with Carr, I think it has a huge impact. Being in these tough moments and Gruden speaking to him and telling him that he could get certain plays done, giving him another set of eyes to understand what's going on with the defense and what are the problems with the offense. You see Greg Olsen, Rich Bisaccia, they just don't have this same, not only knowledge of the offense, and they don't have the same relationship with Derek Carr to correct him in a way to help him improve. So I really do think we are starting to see the impact these past 2 weeks of what it's like to not have your head coach and what it's not like to not have the guy who designed all the plays there to help you succeed for the rest of the season. And yes, we had that nice win against the Broncos. We had that nice win against the Eagles, and it felt good. But those are 2 teams that aren't really as relevant as teams teams like the Chiefs, right? And now people are making adjustments to what the Raiders are doing because the Raiders are even more limited without Ruggs. And in the past, that wouldn't be that big of a deal because Gruden has always had an ability to find alternatives when certain things are shut down. Gruden likes throwing to Foster Moreau. Like that's something that Gruden likes to do. He likes finding alternatives like that. And in this situation, I believe Foster Moreau did not even have one target in this game. So that's just a wasted weapon. We've seen how impactful he can be. And so the fact that we're not finding alternatives, we're not making adjustments without Gruden, it just sucks because you know that he could have been here. He could have still been here. Like I have tons of content about it. I won't spoil it with you and just beat this drum so much, but I do think Raider Nation is going to start to wake up soon. Raider Nation was happy for a while when we won a few games after Gruden was gone, but I think now that reality is starting to set back in, that the NFL and people like Roger Goodell did screw over the Raiders and ruin their season by getting rid of their head coach. There's no way you can be as productive as you were with the guy who designed the plays not in the building. And if this continues, I think you'll see a lot of fans drop off. I think you'll see a lot of people not really caring about what happens with this team moving forward. I've heard people say that they just want to start over and completely rebuild. People are even looking forward to the offseason. And I think it's because people are so used to there being a second half collapse in the season. And the first 6 or 7 games of the season, you saw it start to work out. Other than the Bears and the Chargers game. And the Chargers game was sketchy. But other than those 2 games, Gruden was having a flying, high-powered top 5 offense in the NFL. And we've seen that come crashing down. And it's not just about Ruggs. Yes, he's a good decoy, but we have a decoy in Deshaun Jackson. By the way, what was going on with Deshaun Jackson? So the Raiders, 250 passing yards. What was pretty stupid, though, is in all the articles are trying to say that Carr wasn't going as deep as he usually has. And it's dumb because, yeah, he went 1 yard less on average compared to Mahomes. That's really not a big difference. If Carr wasn't going deep, then you have to say Mahomes wasn't going deep because it's literally just a 1 yard difference. And I really do think that big deep ball to Deshaun Jackson was a huge dagger to us that really just killed any kind of morale this team had when Deshaun Jackson fumbled the ball. And honestly, and that kind of makes you wonder, at this point in the season, are we going to win the division? Maybe. Will we likely get in the wild card? I think still probably. I think we could still fight for the wild card. And at a certain point, Deshaun Jackson had 9 snaps. So I kind of just wondered, why bring this guy if you're not really going to use him that much? And maybe we need to look into getting another deep threat because Deshaun Jackson seems nice, but if we were only confident enough to put him in 9 times in the game, that's really kind of a waste of a 53-man roster spot, in my opinion. We really need somebody to contribute and possibly contribute next year in the future. And Deshaun Jackson, obviously, this is kind of his last year, and he's just trying to make a quick run before he says goodbye in the NFL. You know, he's at the latter part of his career. Maybe we should think about pulling somebody else from the practice squad. I don't know, but I do know Darren Waller definitely needs to get more involved somehow. What I think we have to figure out, and I think the team will figure this out, and this is what they'll be thinking about upcoming week, is were people open? Because here's the thing. I know the offensive line gave up 14 pressures. That's not that bad. There's been several games where they give up 25 pressures and win the game. That's how it happened on a weekly basis for the first 6 weeks. I mean, we were doing well still with Derek Carr being the 4th most pressured QB. So I don't think pressure is entirely why this is going poorly. There was a lot of coverage sacks, coverage pressures on Derek Carr. And the question that the team has to ask themselves, and the question that everybody's going to think about today is, were people open and Derek Carr didn't hit him? Or, yes, there's tight windows, but are they expecting Derek Carr to take those shots anyways? Because there are several times where he didn't take the shot and then he ended up getting pressured or having to throw the ball away because, nobody's open, didn't take a shot for whatever reason. And maybe he was right to not take a shot. Maybe just straight up nobody was open. And either the receivers are incapable of getting open and we desperately need better receivers, or they are open and Carr's just not hitting them. I mean, I think the receivers just aren't getting open. Me personally, and this is kind of a weird way to look at it, I think our receivers need to commit more offensive pass interference and do more push-offs, because I see so many people like Travis Kelce getting away with push-offs all the time. I mean, all day he commits offensive PI on a regular basis. That's why he's wide open most of the time. And I guess sometimes they call it, but for the most part they don't. And when you're not getting open like this for the Raiders receiving core, why not just try to commit some offensive PI at this point? Maybe that's what we need to do, is just open up and see which refs can we do some offensive PI against. No, but in all seriousness, it does seem like we do need a receiver. And we do need, I mean, in my opinion, we need leadership. And the fact that we don't have John Gruden means that we don't have leadership. Rich Bisaccia doesn't seem to have the same amount of command that Gruden had over the team. And honestly, maybe there's a coincidence with all these character behavior stuff happening after Gruden's departure. Or maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe people have gotten a little more lax since Gruden's been gone. You see, with Derek Carr, his relationship with Greg Olson and Rich Bisaccia, there's not a lot of criticism on him, and there's not really anybody in his ear helping him make adjustments in these critical moments, in these critical games. So I don't know. I think really these next weeks, we're really going to see what it's like to not have John Gruden. Maybe we'll do well against some teams that aren't too hot right now. You saw the Bengals have some hard times. The Cowboys are bouncing back. Washington football team had a great win today. But we really don't have many easy games. After a few weeks, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, people have kind of started to figure out this offense and what we do. And typically, I think we do make adjustments at halftime with Gruden, and we figure out something else to do. We figure out alternatives, and our team is going to have to figure out, what are we going to do differently? Are we going to get Drake involved in the passing game? Drake was supposed to be this joker guy, and he hasn't been utilized at all. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about Gruden not being a part of this team, and how much does that have an impact? Does that matter at all? I know some people say it doesn't matter, but I think if you were saying it doesn't matter, imagine if the Chiefs just got rid of Andy Reid like tomorrow. Do you think Mahomes would be as good without Andy Reid? Do you think Andy Reid's constantly making adjustments and helping out? I know Eric Bieniemy is the offensive coordinator, but do you not think Andy Reid is heavily involved, not only from a strategic game plan standpoint, but also just from a psychological standpoint, keeping you in games mentally when things get tough? I think that's critical. But hey, glad you guys watched this video, man. Like it if you watched it all the way through. Subscribe to this channel to get more updates. I'm going to be doing shows all the time this week, keeping you guys up to date on the Raiders and the rest of the NFL. This has been Wi-Fi Willie. Thank you for joining me, man. Hope to see you on the next one.